Well, hey again, everybody. We're back with another episode. It's week 10 in the NFL. It's our preview show. It's me. We got Joey Clinkscales. We got Vincent Turner. We can get right into it. We got a lot of stuff going on. The trade deadline ended actually just a couple of hours ago. We got four actually really big games coming up on both Sunday and Monday that have pretty significant playoff and divisional implications. And I don't know if you guys have been kind of following everything, but we can kind of start it off if we want to go ahead and get into things. But the trade deadline, some significant moves, right? You have some smaller moves, which, Joey, you'll know sometimes those smaller moves will impact a team a little bit more so, right? Maybe we don't have to go all in and add a guy, but we can add a piece that we can throw in as a depth, sort of add or something like that to maybe, just kind of shore up and make sure we have who we need going in to the playoffs, because a lot of these teams that are making moves are playoff teams. But Joey, I'll start with you. What do you think of your Tuesday deadline as far as trades are concerned in the NFL?
Well, I think first and foremost, we saw that the Jets were sellers in this deadline. They weren't buyers; they were definitely sellers. They got a couple players back in deals that they made. However, giving up Sauce Gardner, giving up the Quinnen Williams to the Cowboys and Sauce to the Colts, two teams that have aspirations of trying to get to the playoffs. And I think the Colts getting Sauce Gardner wasn't necessarily to win that division. It was to compete further down the line with the teams in the AFC, with the Chiefs, with the Bills. I mean, I think that's what the Sauce Gardner move was all about. Quinnen Williams' move was a piece Jerry had talked about, getting a big name guy. So he got a big name interior guy that has some pass rush ability. They also got a linebacker from Cincinnati who, as I said last night, the Cowboys had Kale Pectate defense and the Bengals had Imodium defense. So I'm not sure if that linebacker is going to help a lot other than being, another piece, which they needed. They were more than one defensive player away. So,
right.
All jokes aside, I do applaud them for at least knowing that we're more than another piece away. Now, I would have been more impressed if they had gotten Trey Hendrickson to add in that pass rush off the edge, but they did what they could do, and so it's interesting. But the Jets were sellers, and on the flip side of that, it's definitely a rebuild. Despite what they say, it's a rebuild because now in the next two drafts they have 4 first-round picks, so they're able to maneuver. And if a quarterback is what they're looking for, the best available player, they have the ammunition to do whatever they think is best. Now the issue is just being able to evaluate the right guys and coach the right guys the right way, and not missing on some of those guys.
But Joey, you're not really allowed to say it's a rebuild, right? You can't ever fully admit that.
No,
you can go out and do it, but I can't tell my fans that are paying, hundreds of dollars for a seat, like, hey guys, we're kind of punting this season and next season, and we're going to come back and, retool, because you could see the product on the field, right? They have one win.
Right.
If you're the Jets, if you're the Dolphins, if you're whoever else, these teams that are selling.
If we just look at, and we'll take a minute and talk about the Jets, but if we just look at what they need to be really competitive, they haven't added pieces to that puzzle to be competitive. They gave away 2 of their best players on the team. A third player, the running back, asked to be traded. He wanted to be traded, especially after he saw those other guys get freedom. He wanted a little freedom too, and it didn't happen. So in that locker room, a lot of those guys, I mean, the coaching staff, they're going to preach, playing every play. We're going to win games. But the moves they have made this year kind of lets you know that they're starting to prepare for the future, which, I can't blame them for doing so. But those guys in that locker room, especially those veteran guys, they don't want to hear about preparing for the future. They want to win right now. So there's a dynamic that's going to go on there that would be tough for them to win a ton of games, to be quite honest. They've won 1. I would be surprised if they got to 3.
Well, so this, I mean, you got a guy in Breece Hall who's very, very talented, right? And you love to have him in-house, but his contract is up at the end of the year, and he's kind of already made it pretty clear to ownership and to the team that, hey, I don't have any real intention of staying around. So, I mean, at that point, don't you just kind of move him and just get what you can for him? At least, leave the table with something.
You would have thought they would have done that. And I'm sure Garrett Wilson's not real happy right now either.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother issue because of the quarterback situation. And I know they brought in Donald Mitchell from the Colts in the trade. So they brought in another receiver. But again, if you don't have the right guy throwing the ball to those guys, then it's great to have those all that eye candy on the outside. But they're going to be limited.
Vincent, I'll go ahead and get to you here. We'll start with the Cowboys, right? I know yesterday it wasn't a fun night for them. At the trade deadline, though, you add some pieces, you get a little bit better. Are you excited the rest of the season? Thinking maybe Quillian Williams can kind of add maybe a spark, like Joey said, like we've said many times about the Cowboys, is they're more than one piece away, but one piece helps.
I'm going to say this to our audience out there, the Cowboys Nation. I've been a fan for 59 years out of my 65 years. Once that game ended last night, I said to myself, the season is over. Over. They need more than Quentin Williams. They need more than Logan Wilson. Their secondary play, they was talking about trading for Mitchell Fitzpatrick. But when you look at the Cowboys, it's just not a talented roster, man, on both sides of the ball. Now, of course, Quentin Williams is going to help. Of course, Logan Wilson might help. But I'm being realist here. This is probably, from a talent standpoint, defensively, it's probably one of the worstest rosters and collection of players I've seen the Cowboys have over some years. And then what really bothers me the most is that the Cowboys will spend money on players that's had I want a sense of credibility. Deron Bland. That's why I'm glad we got a tremendous scout here and assistant GM. Deron Bland. Would you gave him all that money, Joey? The answer you already know is no. Let me answer it for you. Last night, did Marvin Harrison, Brian kind of ate him for lunch? Did he not have problems with him?
Listen, Harrison's a talented guy, though, right? I mean, he's a very talented guy. And your other, corner, he's supposed to have the other side as a freak injury, right? So you're kind of down a man in the secondary. But yeah, it wasn't pretty. The scoreboard didn't show it. The stat sheet didn't necessarily show it, but they did a good job in the pass game last night. The Cardinals did.
But we paid this guy, Mr. Bland, like he a top 10 corner.
Yeah.
And then we paying him because he had 5 interceptions returned for touchdowns one season, but he played in the slot. He wasn't the outside guy.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, was disappointing. Most of all, is that the Cowboys are not strong on both sides of the line of scrimmage. The offensive line took a step back. They've been playing out of their mind. We paid Tyler Smith some money that he didn't deserve. Tyler Guyton looked like he's going to be a bust. Then Dak Prescott has his woes when he up and down. See, a couple weeks ago, everybody was talking about MVP. You saw when they got adversity last night. I go back to the playoff games against the 49ers. I'll go back early in his career. But you know what? Jerry had to do something. He had to make a splash. Now, realistically, if you're a Cowboys fan, we need a lot more help. So I'm going to give it back to you, Mr. Brian LeBel. The season is over. And what's so crazy about this, and Joy can help me out, you got all that capital for Michael Parsons, and you could have signed him for what you're getting for Quentin Williams. You just could have held on, gave him his money, and you would have still had the same type of situation. But go ahead, Joey.
No, I'll just say this. Would the team have been better with Michael Parsons? Probably. Absolutely. Now, that being said, last year's defense wasn't very good either with Michael Parsons.
Correct.
But Michael Parsons, A, should have been paid, and B, during this trade deadline, you still could have gone out and got more pieces.
Okay? Thank you. That's my point.
The biggest problem was not paying Michael Parsons is that you overpaid other people.
Yeah. Thank you. Trayvon Diggs.
And you're trying to correct that by not paying Michael Parsons. And that's what you can't do. You can't correct him. you can't correct a problem on your best player because you made some other mistakes with players and salary. So that was part of the mistakes that were made by the Cowboys.
But I would say this: since we brought Mr. Quentin Williams in, he's going to be playing against a pretty good football player, Kenny Clark.
Yeah.
We got the Raiders in 2 weeks. We got a bye week coming up. Logan Wilson to have time to come in and get a combination because we need help at the linebacker position. Our linebackers haven't made a play in a month, if you asking me. But think about this: the Raiders might be our only win in the next few months until Christmas. Check out the schedule, my brothers. The Eagles, the Chiefs,
Yeah.
the Lions, the Vikings, and the Chargers. The mic has dropped. Back to you, Mr. Brian LeBel.
Yeah, the schedule doesn't seem to get any friendlier until the very end. You got the Commanders on Christmas Day, the Giants to follow. But yeah, a lot of teams got better. A lot of teams are in the position where we're trying to get better next year and the year following as far as the deadline is concerned. Now, if we get into the games, the first one we have on the docket, now we're just going to go by, time. This is our 1:00 game. This is the one that you're going to see when you turn on your TVs 1 p.m. on Sunday. But Patriots are another team at the deadline who we thought would make a move, right? Maybe add a receiver, maybe add some depth. They held pat. They like what they're doing. They're 7-2. They're still playing some really good football. Joey, coming into this one, you got the Bucs off a bye, and I'll say this: coaches off a bye, for me at least, kind of depict how I view them, right? Really good coaches like the Bill Belichick's and the Sean McVays and the Andy Reids. If you look at their record off a bye, some of them haven't lost a game in a decade, right? That's just how it happens. And Bucs are at home. They're off a bye. They're playing a very good Patriots defense. What do the Pats have to do on Sunday to kind of change that trend where teams off a bye are usually a little more dangerous? Obviously, you're going to be more prepared. You watch more film. But what does New England have to do to go into Tampa and get a win on Sunday?
Well, the Pats are a hot team, first and foremost. They're coming in on a 4 or 5 game winning streak. They have not lost a game since let me back up. They really gained their confidence when they beat Buffalo in Buffalo.
Yeah.
I think that's what started this streak that they're on, because now they're playing with so much more confidence, especially offensively. The quarterback continues to grow. The receivers are playing good. The offensive line is playing pretty good. The game in Denver, the offensive line had some trouble, so Denver was coming after them. But I think the Bucs on the flip side of that have a chance to do the same thing defensively. I think that the Bucs defense has been pretty underrated this year. I think they have some pieces there, especially on the defensive line, that can do some things. They got the big guy in the middle of the defense who is a monster, and he's been that way for years, and he continues to play that way. So I think the Bucs have a real shot coming off a bye. They've hopefully gotten healthier. I don't know if what the receiver core look like. The medical report is not back yet, but their young gifted receiver rookie, he'll be healthier. I know he had a hamstring or a groin couple weeks. So, and I think they're getting their best running back back this week. So I expect this to be a really good game. But if I had to pick one right now, I would probably take a flyer on the Bucs. I don't know what the spread is, but I would take a flyer on the Bucs. Although I'm not saying I don't have faith in the Patriots, but they're a young team, and again, they're going to fight. They have the personality of their head coach. They're going to fight, and it'll be a good game. I expect this to be one of the best games of the weekend.
Well, Tampa right now, they're a 2.5-point favorite. Like you said, getting Bucky Irving back, this offense changes drastically for Tampa when you get Bucky. He's a very good running back. He's been superb for them. The offense was still pretty good in his absence. I mean, to be fair, they're missing half their guys, but they've still been all right. Vincent, Patriots are 7-2. As of right now, Drake May is in the MVP conversation. He's second or third, depending on where you got him, but he's playing some really good ball. Patriots are rolling. I'll ask you the same question I asked Joey is, what does New England have to do to go into Tampa Bay and get a win, or do you just kind of see it where Tampa just coming off a bye and how good they are with Baker Mayfield? Everyone else is just might be a little too much for this young Patriots team.
Mike Vrabel, he's brought a new culture to New England. got his players, young players. He went there with a young quarterback in Drake May. Let's be honest, fellas. We know Drake May was going to be very talented. We just didn't know how quick. What the gentleman got, 2,200 yards, 17 touchdowns. But I'm going to tell you what I've been most impressed with from an offense standpoint. Stephon Diggs has helped him out a lot. Keyshawn Botte out of LSU has helped him out a lot. And most of all, the rookie out of the Ohio State, Mr. Trayvon Henderson, has been at another level. Now, Mr. May and the Patriots are going to Tampa. And right now, if I had to give an MVP vote, Boomer, Sooner, Mr. Baker Mayfield is playing lights out. Think about this. He's had like 3 or 4 receivers out the last few weeks, right? And he's still making it happen, even with his guy he brought over, Mr. Sterling Shepard. And now y'all saying they're getting Bucky Irvin back? Yeah, I got to lean forward with the Bucks a little bit here. I think Tampa Bay is on a great run, and kudos to head coach Todd Bowles. I love what you're doing. Back to you, Mr. Mr. Brian LeBel.
Joey, before we move on from this game real quick, I'm going to go back to the class of, what was it, 2024? Caleb Williams, obviously first overall. Jaden Daniels goes second. Drake May goes third. If you have a do-over, do those flip? You think Drake May's the first quarterback off the board, knowing what we know today? You think he's the first guy taken, maybe over Daniels, maybe over Caleb Williams?
Probably. If again, hindsight is 20/20, but knowing what we know today, you would say that. But knowing what we knew then, probably, I think they would probably draft it in the right order. But yes, if we had 2 years of NFL experience and we went back and drafted today, then Drake May would be the first quarterback taken off the board for sure.
All right. Hey, listen, we got to ask these questions, right? The what ifs. That's
absolutely.
That's half what this business is, right? It's going back and saying, man, if only.
That's right.
2 very good quarterbacks. Should be maybe a shootout. Depends on which defense shows up for Tampa and which defense shows up for New England on Sunday. But that's to get your day started now. Going in the second slot, the Sunday slot. I think this is probably we got 2 other games on the docket that are really, really good. But this is an interesting one to me. Joey, the Steelers coming off of a pretty nice win last week. You know, it wasn't the most, it wasn't beautiful, but it was enough to get it done. They forced 6 turnovers on the defensive side of the ball. They're able to score 27 points. They escape with a 7-point win. Now, the Chargers are kind of a different story. They kind of did the same thing in Tennessee, right? It's a game they thought people had them winning, right? I think most people would have picked the Chargers. You lose Joe Alt for the season. That's a huge blow, right? It's just, we've kind of already seen he was hurt earlier in the year. The offense just wasn't as good, wasn't as crisp. They couldn't keep Justin Herbert as upright with him off the field. They do make a trade. They're one of the teams that added the deadline. They added some offensive line talent. But coming in this game, Joey, do you feel good about the Steelers? Do you feel better about the Chargers? This is kind of a big game as far as seeding for the playoffs, right? Because both these teams most likely are going to be there come January.
Yeah, I won't say I feel good about the Steelers. I do think they did some interesting things last Sunday. I think they simplified the defense some, which made those guys play faster. They took some of the decision-making away from the players. Again, they simplified the defense, and those guys were able to play with a clearer mind, and I think that helped. This week, you know what the Chargers' game plan is. They want to run the ball.
Yeah.
They want to get Herbert in situations where with the play action, he can beat you deep down the field. They don't really have a major deep threat, although the Steelers secondary have played up and down. Ramsey will be used a lot more in the run game, I think, and covering the tight end. Now, the Chargers tight ends have played pretty good this year, especially Arondé Gaston Jr. He's done some. He's come along. So I think Herbert would be looking for him and Ladd McConkey a lot. And I think obviously the Steelers know that, but you have to be able to get after the quarterback. You have to get the quarterback off the spot. You got to get him rolling when he's not ready to roll. You got to make sure he gets the ball out of his hand. And J.J. Watt probably had one of his better games of the season this past week. So if he can continue to do that, then I like where the Steelers are. But if he can't do that, then on the other side, you have Khalil Mack and you have couple other guys who are obviously going to rush the Steelers. And, I'm still not completely sold on the Steelers offensive line, but the Steelers have to be able to run the ball this week against this Charger defense to be effective. And they haven't always been able to run the ball well this season.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. And one other thing, they have to find a true number 2 receiver. Okay.
Yeah.
I really thought they would have done so leading up to the trade deadline, which they didn't. So when Metcalf, I think he had 1 catch the last week, maybe 2.
It was a bad game for him. Yes.
So who do you go to now? I mean, you have 3 tight ends that would be a part of the offense. They've done a good job of getting those guys acclimated. However, if you can't go down the field and if they can take one receiver out of the game and you don't have a answer for that, then it's going to be a long day.
Vincent, this is a game I'm kind of excited as far as the quarterback play is concerned, right? I think Justin Herbert is underrated to this point. I don't think he's in the elite conversations. Now, he hasn't won that game yet that like the Mahomes and the Allens and those guys have, but Rodgers is still doing a pretty good job. The numbers aren't gaudy, but the completion percentage is up there. The turnovers aren't as high as they were, at least with the Jets. Is this a game where you're kind of looking at, now it's 2 3-loss teams. The Chargers yet to have their bye. The Steelers had theirs. Last couple weeks at least, been kind of Jekyll and Hyde for the Steelers, right? The defense looked really bad against the Bengals, and then it looked really, really good against the Colts. Vincent, what team am I going to see out of Pittsburgh on Sunday night?
Well, we talked about the Steelers. They poor defensive performances over the last 2 weeks against the Packers and the Bengals. But when you look at a Steeler football, and maybe Joey can help me out, when they winning out on Super Bowls, it's all about their defense. And what I saw last week, and I didn't really expect it because Daniel Jones was hot, and the Colts were coming in pretty hot. But what I saw that old Pittsburgh defense, energy. I saw that juice. They were amped up. I said, oh, my God, is that the Steel Curtain too? Joe Green, Lambert, Ham, the man out of Southern University, Mr. Mel Blunt, Joey Porter Jr. all over the field, had 8 tackles. T.J. Watt played like Joey said, played like the Pro Bowler we know he was. Patrick Wilson at the linebacker position. Did he not ball out? And then Kyle Duggar, who they brought over in the trade. That's Steeler football right there. That was Steeler football right there. I don't mean to get excited. I want to run through the screen. And then them tiles is going in Pittsburgh. That's the Steeler nation there. Then, see, you got to realize something. You're right by one thing, Joy. The Steelers, if they don't go forward, they got to have a number 2 guy that really come together at the wide receiver position. I don't understand the young man from my hometown, the 901, Kevin Austin. I'm talking to you right now, baby. The lane is wide open for you to make plays. And for some reason, he just not been able to fill that role. But those things have got to happen. The Steelers going to move forward. Now, I think the Steelers are going to play good defense from this point on. I think they had to have a game like that, but we know they can play defense. Now with the Chargers, you're right, Brian. Justin Herbert, I love him. We know he was going to play better once Harbaugh became the head coach. Did anybody question that? I don't think so. What he got, 2,300 yards, 18 touchdowns. We know the Chargers got great defensive pieces. Derwin James, maybe the best safety in the game. My man, Khalil Mack, who Mr. Joey Clinkscales had a chance to draft back in the day, so we knew him as a player. But I'm going to tell you this, the most underrated receiver in the game, and I got to give love to him. We thought about Brock Bowers was that tight end coming out of Georgia.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be honest. Lad McConkey has surprised me, man. He is a real good football player, and he gives Justin Herbert a nice cushion. Back to you, Brian.
You know, it's interesting, Joey. I almost wonder if just kind of the simplifying of the defense is maybe what threw Daniel Jones off last week, right? Because you're watching film. We got 7 games of tape on these guys, and then you come out and they're doing things, a whole heck of a lot different. So credit to what you said there. I'll ask you guys to pick a winner here, right? Because it's just one of those games where I think it could go either way. I wouldn't be surprised. I think the Chargers with Joe Alt are a little bit of a better football team, but without him, I just think it's a gigantic question mark as to what this team could do offensively. I think the Steelers are going to come out and they're trying to put the Chargers in as many passing situations as possible to take advantage of that. I think the Chargers are probably going to try to do the same thing and take away the run. Joey, if you had to pick a winner between these two teams right now, who do you think's got the edge on Sunday?
Well, I'll put it to you like this. I'm going to take the Steelers because I think defensively that defense will show up again if they simplify things. But the unheralded thing that's going to happen in this game is you're going to see more Steeler fans in the stands than you see Chargers.
I was going to close that. Yep, a lot of terrible towels.
You know that.
On Sunday.
So the Steelers will feel comfortable playing in LA in that stadium because their fans will be there in droves. So I'm going with the Steelers here.
Yeah, it's a building that usually carries a lot of away fans, regardless of who's coming into the building, right? But Steelers fans, I mean, I've seen it personally here in Atlanta. They travel exceptionally well. Vincent, I'll ask you the same question. One of these two teams has to win. Both teams kind of need to keep winning in order to keep pace in the division and have a chance to host a playoff game in January. Who do you think does it on Sunday?
Hey, man, I got to roll with the Steelers simply because when I was growing up in Memphis, Tennessee, you was either a Cowboys fan or a Steelers fan. And that tradition goes all the way back to their first Super Bowl. It's Hollywood. It's Sunday Night Football. The Steelers Nation is going to be in, what's the name of the stadium? SoFi?
SoFi, yes, sir.
And, man, that defense, man, I'm telling you, last week watching them play, hey, that defense was at a level of the old Steeler teams back in the day. I think Pittsburgh is going to roll. And you got to know the man from Chico, California, Aaron Rodgers, likes this stage. Matter of fact, he loves this stage. Back to you, Mr. Brian LeBel.
Yeah, well, last time he was on the stage, he was playing against his former team, and there were 2 quarters of football I think he'd like to forget. But he's looking to change that on Sunday. They're right back at it in prime time. This is a game that's very, very interesting. The Rams are red hot. They keep winning. They got all the talent in the world. Even with Puka Nacua out, this offense didn't seem to miss a beat. And then, Joey, we kind of talked about it in our rundown show last night. This 49ers team just refuses to give up, right? It's just they're throwing guys out there. I think they're down probably a third of their starters from what they projected week 1, and they're still winning football games. They still have a chance to – I don't think they can take over the division tomorrow, but they can certainly – or excuse me, on Sunday, but they certainly have a really good chance to, make a case that they can still win it, despite how well the Rams are playing, despite how well the Seahawks are playing. Joey, we'll start with the Rams, and we'll start with how well they're playing. Matthew Stafford may be a dark horse MVP candidate right now, but defensive side of the ball, offensive side of the ball, these guys are absolutely rolling.
Matthew Stafford is playing outstanding football. Let's be clear about that. He is still, at his advanced age, able to roll out on play actions. He's able to get outside the pocket. He's able to throw darts down the field. He's still extremely accurate. He still has a really big arm. It's not many things that and he understands his offense in a very unique way. I mean, he's like another coach on the field. That's how much McVay trusts him with the reads and the plays that he's making. So I really like what the Rams do offensively. Even with Puka Nacua probably out, he had a shoulder injury in the game Sunday. I'm not sure he'll play this week. But Devontae Adams, he's still there, and he's playing really well this season. And they have other guys, and they're able to run the ball really well right now with Kyron Williams. And defensively, they have 3 or 4 really good pass rushers, the kid from Florida State. So they do a lot defensively to put pressure on the quarterback, and I'm not sure if the 49ers will be able to handle that completely. Although from their standpoint, it seems like no matter who they put in, they get production out of them because, like you said, they've been hurt. Players have missed games, but the guys who haven't missed games is really the guy who should be missing games this year is Christian McCaffrey. He's been the bell cow as running the ball, catching the ball out of the backfield. Kittle's has been out. I think he had 1 catch last week, and he's been back a couple of weeks. And so you're not getting a ton of production out of Kittle's right now. But, hey, Mac Jones has played really well for those guys in the absence of Purdy. And they just keep finding ways to win football games. Right now that receiver core is banged up. But guess what? The guys they have really catch the ball well, have good run after catch ability. They aren't really threats down the field vertically, But what they can do, again, is run the ball, give the ball to Christian McCaffrey in the run game and on the perimeter in the pass game, and they keep making plays.
Vincent, these two teams met a little over a month ago, back in Week 5, and the Niners escaped with a win. It was an interesting finish. It was a very good game. I think it was a Thursday night game, if I'm not mistaken. Funny enough, Joey mentioned Christian McCaffrey, who had 33 touches on Sunday, and it's a guy, listen, not very healthy, right? He's been banged up, and ironically, he's the only one that's really been able to stay healthy on the San Francisco roster so far this season. Vincent, the Rams are rolling. The Niners are rolling. I think the betting odds are about even right now because it's very, very difficult. This is a rivalry game too, right? Where it's a divisional matchup and you're just not quite sure who's going to pull it out. Is there anything you see from the Rams or the 49ers that maybe says, hey, this is why this team is going to win, or this is why this team I end up seeing being on the losing side come Sunday?
Let me say this for both teams. They've been very impressive this year. Matthew Stafford, let's start with the Rams. He's got their offense looking like the greatest show on turf in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Man, think about it. Before the season started, they was talking about he had a serious back injury. They didn't even know if he was going to play this year.
Yeah.
Then Mr. PN is out. We know who we talking about, the receiver position, but I knew once they got Devontae Adams, that was a good acquisition. What has he done this year? 491 yards, 8 touchdowns. Let's put some respect on the running back's name too. Karen Williams out of Notre Dame, who they paid in the offseason. He's been pretty good with 586 yards. And then Mr. Verse, Brandon Fisk, the young man out of the U, Cam Kitchens, all great defensive players. But Matthew Stafford, as you said, Brian, we should be talking about him in the MVP conversation. Not the 49ers. That's one thing about organizations that win all the time, like the Steelers, like the Cowboys before Jerry Jones got there, when he was letting Jerry run the show. The Cowboys, the Niners, and Steelers, they have a way about doing things right. That's drafting real well. Bringing players that fit their organization. I got to give my hats off to Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. Next man up. They paid Brock Purdy a lot of money. When Brock Purdy went down, there was a lot of people saying, oh, what we going to do? Mac Jones, we really thought, hey, what they was going to get out of him. Things didn't work out where he was in New England. He went over to Jacksonville and became a backup. But, man, he been pretty good running that offense for the 49ers. Let's don't make no mistake. And then Christian McCaffrey. We know if he's healthy, he might be one of the top 3 backs in the game. So he's healthy. He's been able to carry them. But it's been their defense. You lose Nick Bosa. You lose Fred Warren. Then you got that young man out of TCU, D. Winters. 6th-round pick. 59 tackles on the year, and he's been flying to the ball. And then the young man they got in free agency. And I talked to some of his people today that went to the University of Memphis, so I got to give him some love to see Mr. Bryce Huff. The Jets, y'all didn't want him. But look what he's doing with the 49ers. 4 sacks on the year. The 901 is in the house. University of Memphis. Back to y'all, gentlemen.
That's fun. Michael Williams, 1st-round pick, another guy they had. He tore his ACL this past Sunday. He's out. It's another next man up situation. Seems to just kind of be the story of the San Francisco 49ers at this point. It's a little bit ridiculous, right, when you think about it. But
well, I'll say this before you move on. The kid, I can't think of his name, and maybe you have it in front of you. The kid that came in at linebacker when the BYU kid got hurt.
Oh, the young man out of the U. I can't think. Nah, he went to Florida State. Tatum Banoon. Yeah, I don't want to butcher his name.
He has played amazing football. I mean, when you lose your leader on defense and you have to plug another guy in, I mean, he has been all over the field. So kudos.
16 tackles on Sunday, gentlemen. 8 solo tackles.
Kudos to him.
Yeah.
His ability to prepare, his ability to be ready when his number is called. And that's what pro football is about. You may not be the first guy up, but when your number is called and you got involved, he's made himself some money, whether it's there in San Francisco or somewhere else. Because when Warner went out, we were like, I'm sure everybody was like, this defense is probably done. And that kid has stepped in, and he has been playing lights out.
Well, Joey, you think some of it's scheme, right? You think Saleh and Shanahan are watching film and they're saying, hey, listen, we gotta We got to change up what we're doing to give our players the best chance to be successful, right? And this, I know everybody does that, but for some reason, for the 49ers, it's every week and it works, right? They're getting production out of free agents, guys off the street. They're bringing guys on practice squads that haven't started a game in 2 years. And there's Kendrick Bourne's a great example. He's in year 9, and he had 3 of the best games of his career. And Shanahan's just bringing him in and saying, hey, he does this really well, so let's run those plays.
Let's do this. That's right. So I'll give you a quick example. And I'm bad with names right now, but the defensive end for the Pittsburgh Steelers, the short guy, play forever.
James Harrison.
So James Harrison was in training camp with the Steelers. They cut him. Okay, then they bring him back. They cut him again. Yeah. All he could do was really rush the passer, and he's undersized. He's not a guy that was great versus the run when he first got there. But what he could do is rush the passer. So finally, they said, we're going to find a way to get this guy on the field rushing the passer. Okay, and once they got him on the field rushing the passer, he never came off the field again because he found out how to, he was low to the ground, how to leverage offensive linemen in the run game. But more importantly, they played to his strengths. So now, moving forward, when you can play to a guy's strength, you're not trying to put a square peg in a round hole. You're doing the things that he can do to help your team be the most successful. And I think that's what they're doing in San Francisco. That's what they did in Detroit a couple of weeks ago when they had all those guys out and had 5 new secondary guys and didn't miss a beat. So the best coaches are able to play to the player's strengths.
There are some, I think Shanahan is in that mold of guys that do, but they are so much more savvy, I guess I would say, when it comes to doing so. Right? Like Andy Reid is another guy who I'd say my job is to give my players the best chance to win on Sundays, right? I think he does that a ton. Now, between these two matchups, I would say Sean McVay is another guy because this team just seems to – doesn't matter who they plug in. Devontae Adams is having maybe not as far as yards, maybe not as far as catches, but he seems to be scoring 2 touchdowns every week now, especially with Nakua being out, being the number 1 guy. Their red zone efficiency is through the roof. The yards aren't all there, but it's when they touch the ball, they seem to be scoring almost every single time. They did against Jacksonville. They did against New Orleans. Vincent, I'll ask you, does that keep being the case on Sunday? Because, I mean, it's 2 juggernauts going at it. They've seen each other, at least a dozen times between the last couple of years, playoffs, regular season, everything. I mean, these 2 teams don't like each other. Let's say that. But, Vincent, can the Rams keep rolling an offense against the 49ers guys on street clothes on defense and around, or is it going to be San Francisco pulling off another seemingly upset like they did about a month ago last time they saw these guys?
I'm going to say 2 things here. The 49ers, you better get ready to score some points because the greatest show on turf in Hollywood. Think about what Hollywood stands for. Stars, glitz, glamour. Matthew Stafford is playing at that level right now, fellas. MVP. And it really amazes me because we thought he wasn't going to even take a snap this year.
Yeah.
He rolling, and that Rams offense is rolling. I give it back to you, Mr. LeBel.
Real quick, Joey, we got to pick a winner. One of these 2 teams has to win on Sunday. Who are you giving the edge to?
Well, since I picked the Rams in week 1 to win this division, I'm going with the Rams. I gotta live up to my prediction here, so I'm going with the Rams to win this division.
I will say, unfortunately for the LA Rams, every time they play the Niners basically have an extra home game every year when they play in SoFi. We kind of dogged on the Chargers a little bit, but it's kind of the same thing. It's kind of crazy how LA's been able to kind of have their numbers still. But Vincent, I'll ask the same question to you. One of these 2 teams has to win. Are you gonna go with Joey again here, or you thinking San Francisco's got a chance to pull it out on Sunday?
Man, I got to go with my man from Austin East. I'm not going against the Rams, the greatest show on turf. Hollywood, baby. Matthew Stafford, Highland High School, Dallas, Texas. Go Dogs. Man, he's playing really good football, man. He's playing championship level football. And if he keeps playing at this level, the Rams are going to be they're going to be a tough out. And they're probably going to win the division, and I wouldn't want to see them in the playoffs. Back to you, Mr. LeBel.
Well, speaking of playoffs and on the NFC side, this might be the game of the week, fellas. Now I know that Rams Niners game is another one, but you could kind of argue really all four games have a chance to be based on records, based on how teams are playing. But these are two teams, kind of juggernauts in the NFC. I think the Eagles right now have an easier path to the playoffs than the Packers do, just because I look at their division and the Cowboys are looking up at 3-5-1, and they're in second place right now. The Packers are staring up at the Lions, and they got the Vikings and they got the Bears looking right at them too. Um, Joey, the Eagles coming off a bye, right? This is a very good team, right? They added some depth at the trade deadline. I'd say the Eagles are one of the winners of the trade deadline, is as in filling some roles, bringing in some talent. You can never have enough guys, but is that going to translate on Sunday? The Packers are kind of reeling from a tough loss. Tucker Kraft was hurt. What are you thinking in this Eagles-Packers game, at least from the Eagles side?
Well, I think the Eagles have the advantage here going into Lambeau Field. Especially after watching what the Carolina Panthers did last week to this team and how they were able to run the ball. And I think the Eagles having a week off, able to come back refreshed, able to get some offensive linemen back healthy, and really focusing on the ground game, especially, again, after watching what the Carolina Panthers did to the Packers. And hopefully Jalen, Brown and Smith on the offensive side and the tight ends have gotten together and kind of cleared the air about a lot of things, and they're feeling pretty good about themselves. So I think they have the advantage going in, because I'm not sure which Jordan Love is going to show up. I'm not sure about the Packers defensive line after what I saw last week. And the Packers, again, they have a young receiver core. His best receiver, which is his tight end, look like is now out for the season. Yeah. So it'll be interesting. Now, can the Packers win? Absolutely, they can win, because we've seen stranger things happen with teams who are have their back against the wall and come in injured and win a big game. We saw that a couple of weeks ago with the Lions. So they can win. They can still run the ball. Jacobs has played really well this year. Has run the ball excellently. But if I had to pick between these two teams, especially coming off a bye, I'm going to take the Eagles.
Okay. Vincent, Joey makes a great point. What the Panthers were able to do, run the ball, control the clock, play defense, that's the staple of what the Eagles have been doing for 3 or 4 years now, and it's worked very, very well. And that's the blueprint for what they want to try to do. Are the Eagles licking their chops watching that film from Sunday and saying, hey, if they can do it, if Carolina can do it, there's no reason that we can't do it against, this same team?
I'm going to go back a couple of weeks ago. Remember when the Eagles lost 2 games? Even myself, I was questioning the Eagles a little bit. How they lost that Super Bowl mojo. Are they still the best team in the NFC East? And remember when they lost to the Giants on Thursday night, how Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterbo, they were really hyped after that.
Yeah.
And even then, I said, man, it's the Eagles slipping. But what happened 2 weeks ago when he took the Giants to the woodshed? Saquon Barkley, 150 yards. Jalen Hurts played lights out. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith got back involved in the offense. Then the defense, with so many injuries, they played pretty well. I think the score was 38-20. And I listened to what Saquon Barkley said after the game. He said, you know what, a couple of weeks ago on Thursday night, we felt a little disrespected. We felt like the league might have took us for granted. But make no bone, we still Philly. We still the Eagles. And we still the team in the NFC that you need to worry about. And now what I like about their GM, Howie Roseman, see, he the type of GM, he going to say, hey, I'm going all in now. We ain't got a taste of them rings on our hands like the Patriots. You know what I'm saying? So what does he do? He go out and get Jair Alexander from the Ravens to boost their secondary. They get Jalen Phillips. When he healthy, he a hell rushing the pass off that end. And you putting them on a defense with Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis now, and Nakobe Dean, I think, is coming back healthy. Mm-hmm. And now the Eagles, when you look at it, their quarterback doesn't get a lot of love. that some people here in Atlanta say don't think he was better than Jaden Daniels. His initials is CN. But we saw what happened to Mr. Daniels. So my thing is we need to put respect on Jalen Hurts' name.
Yeah.
Because all I know he's winning. Now with Green Bay. Gentlemen, I don't know how to take the Packers. 1 minute, Jordan Love, y'all look like a Super Bowl team on Sunday Night Football against the Steelers. It's no way, no how that y'all should have let Carolina come in there and dominate y'all running the football and playing that type of game. Especially, let me put this major stat out this. Bryce Young only threw for 100 yards.
Yeah.
And they still, and Carolina wins the football game 16-13. I'm going to say that one more time. They lost to Bryce Young and the Panthers. And Bryce Young only threw for 100 yards, even though Rico Dow had, 125 on the ground.
Yeah.
And we was talking about after the first game, the trade with Michael Parsons and the Packers, how they dominated the Lions the first game. Everybody was ready to say, Super Bowl, Super Bowl, it's coming back to Lombardi Field. I just don't know right now. I'm taking the Eagles because I think the Eagles got a little bit upset, and I think the Eagles are going to play really strong football from here on out. And I'm going to say it again. I love Howie Roseman because Howie Roseman as a GM ain't going to stand pat. We're talking about a team that won the Super Bowl, and look at the pieces he went out and got. Make you run through this screen. And I'm not even an Eagles fan. I'm a Cowboys fan. Back to you, Joey.
Well, I think they needed to be quite honest with you, they needed to go out and make a move or two because you have to remember what they gave up. I mean, they lost Sweat in free agency.
Yeah.
They had not replaced that rusher. Then
Good
injured.
point.
Yeah, and then they lost another defensive piece, and then they lost
Milton Williams
offensive line. So they needed to get back to almost where they were defensively last year. They needed to find another pass rusher. So the fact that they were able to trade for Phillips, at least going down the stretch, will help them get to where they were defensively last year.
You know, it's interesting, Joey. I'm going to ask you about the Packers. Vincent kind of already gave me the rundown of both teams and his pick on Sunday, but the offense looked really, really good with Kraft in the game. Now he's out, and then the Panthers, what they did on Sunday, that's exactly what Philly's going to do. And I already mentioned that. But if you're on the flip side, if you're the Packers, you're saying, hey, we got the film that shows us exactly what not to do, right? So maybe you kind of self-scout a little bit, figure out what you were doing wrong, and then you get another team that's trying to do the exact same thing coming in on Monday night.
Well, I'll just say this. As much as we're talking about the Packers, defensively, they played well enough to win the football game. If you give up 16 points in a game and you hold the quarterback to 100 yards passing despite 125 yards rushing by one player, you've played well enough to win an NFL football game. Okay, so I'm not going to be as critical on the defense because they played well enough to win the game. Offensively, despite Jordan Love throwing for 270, he made some critical errors. He missed some wide open people that you had some drop balls. And then a quarterback's best friend is a running game and a tight end.
Right.
His most dependable guy is usually the tight end. Now he's just lost that. Okay. So now how will he adjust his game? How would they adjust the offense with the absence of their best receiving weapon? So from my standpoint, I don't think that's going to be solved in 1 week, so I'm going to take the Eagles here.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. Just a couple weeks ago, really last Sunday night, we kind of were looking at the Packers and saying, man, this team looks really stout. They look really, really good, and the Super Bowl aspirations, right? Well, fellas, those are our 4 games. Some good football this week. We got some bad football this weekend, but there's a game in just about every single window that's must-watch TV. Is there anything we missed? Is there anything else that you guys want to go into before we wrap it up? Is because we're week 10 now. We're at the back half of the schedule. Joey, I'll start with you. Is there anything that we didn't talk about? Anything we missed? Anything we need to talk about?
No, I don't think there's anything we missed. I will say that most teams know exactly who they are as a football team right now. They know what their strengths and weaknesses are, and those teams that did not address those needs via the free agency that just cut off here, the trade deadline. Most of those teams are preparing for next year. They won't come out and say it publicly, but they know exactly where they are. They know exactly what they cannot do at this point. You might not know what you can do, but you definitely know what you can't do right now. Those teams that can't run the ball, they aren't going to be able to run the ball the last half of the season. Those teams that don't win the offensive or defensive line of scrimmage, that's not going to change. And if you didn't address those needs via the trade deadline, then you have exactly what you have. You're going to start bringing pieces in to see how they fit. Some of them for next year. Some people will be auditioning for next year, the second half of the season. But the teams we thought would be really good have been good. But the one thing I'll say about this season so far is we have seen a ton of parity. And I think that's what this league has been about, at least the first half of the season, is parity. I mean, you have a lot of teams bunched up together, 1 or 2 games separating one team at the top from the third place team. So we've seen a lot of parity, and on any given Sunday, a team can win. So even the Jets won last week, 2 weeks ago. So on any given Sunday in Cincinnati, again, offensive juggernaut, they can score 48 points and lose a football game. So you just don't know what you're getting. This first half of the season has shown us that there is a lot of parity in the NFL right now.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because in the AFC right now, there's 5 teams with 2 losses, and then there's 6 teams with 2 losses in the NFC. A lot of teams at the top, kind of still wide open, which makes it fun. And that's, part of the reason why we get to talk about these 4 games are so important because, we mentioned almost half the teams that are in that mix. Vince, is there anything from you, at least maybe what you've seen so far, something we missed going into week 10 and maybe even further beyond the rest of the season?
I want to give kudos and shout outs to my father's favorite team. He's watching us tonight down there in Memphis, Tennessee, 88 years old. Shout out to the Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
For their outstanding win over the Cincinnati Bengals. Unbelievable. Caleb Williams. And then, man, I'm seeing a lot of great tight ends in this game. From John Mackey to Kellen Winslow. But my boy from UGA, Brock Bowers.
Yes, sir.
Kudos to your performance this past week. You put on the show. And my man, Mr. Clinkscales, was there to see it up close and personal.
Best tight end in football today.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. That's what I'm going to take away tonight. Those 2 things. Back to you, Brian.
Yeah. It's after the numbers he put up this week and what he's done so far, it's really hard to argue that. But, well, everyone, that's it for us. We kind of touched on everything we need to going into week 10 in the NFL schedule. We're more than halfway done. We're on the back 9 now, as they say in golf. But I've been Brian LeBel. We have Joey Clinkscales, Vincent Turner. Thank you guys for watching. We'll be back at the same time next Tuesday. Talk about maybe we got some more good games on the docket next week, and we look forward to seeing you guys all then. Until next time, thanks for watching.